Certainly. Well, scholars have noted for a long time that the early chapters just use materials that are Babylonian or Sumerian or from ancient Mesopotamia. There's the flood story. There's the 10 generations before the flood. Some people have said the creation account was based on Enuma Elish. So there's a strong case for Babylonian influence. But the question is, when? When did these Babylonian sources come to the attention of the authors of the biblical material? Now, the prevailing paradigm has said that the whole Pentateuch, the first 5 books of the Bible, are relatively ancient, written during the monarchy and the Babylonian period and the Persian period, basically when Judea was within the ancient Near East, per se. I hold that it was written later, after Alexander the Great took over the East, conquered, and so it's a paradox that there's these ancient Babylonian sources used in Genesis, and yet they might date to the Greek Hellenistic period. And the reason why that's possible is because there was an author named Berossus, who was a Babylonian priest in the Temple of Marduk, and he wrote around 280 BC. That's just 10 years before the Septuagint translation. And he wrote a book called the Babyloniaca, or, the history of Babylon. And he brought all these cuneiform traditions to the attention of the wider Greek world, including the flood story, creation story. All of this became available in Greek to educate in the whole Mediterranean world during the Hellenistic era. So you have these Babylonian sources,
right,
but they were published way late, after the time of Alexander the Great.
And so this is the dispute in this chapter that you go into, issues that we find and it goes down to some details, like which versions. There's different versions of the flood myths from Mesopotamia, and some date later, like you said. And finding out where they're pulling their source from, the Bible, is going to indicate often what you're suggesting, a dating mechanism in which we could say there's no way, for example, and this is one of the later notes that we get into, there's parts of the Tower of Babel myth that come from something that we know was written by 600. We have no evidence of it before that. So how can we have a 9th and 10th century source claiming that the biblical authors are writing Genesis using this narrative when we know that it's written at 600? So at least it needs to be later than that. And this is the minimalist approach. So that's just one example. We'll actually get into that example as we go on.